last-minute shake-up at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning, Ryan. It's okay.
And staying in front of the day isn't always as
Thanks,
simple
Ryan.
as 1,
What's
2,
up?
3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
What's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM 1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership today.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts here with my friend and co-host, as always, Ken Miller. Ken, how's it going?
Things are going well, Wendy. How are you?
I am great. And today's episode is actually part 3. So if you guys have missed part 1 and part 2, you definitely want to go back. But today we are going to talk about stopping, and continuing things along the fitness realm. So your fitness game plan, if you will. Part 1, we talked a lot about performance. Part 2, we talked about nutrition. And then, of course, we're going to end on the big one, fitness. And Ken, I think this one is one that a lot of us know, but it's a really good reminder, especially because we are affiliated and associated with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So why don't you start us off?
Well, when we think about fitness, right, that's one of those big terms, and it kind of covers a lot of things, as it should, because if you're talking about performance, you're trying to get better at a specific goal, right? Whether it's to run a race, lift more weights, or if you're talking about body composition, like in episode 2, you're actually trying to make some physical change. Well, fitness is trying to get everything, right? Trying to get you, Wendy, a lot of our clients, they want it all, right? They want to be able to do this, do that. They want to run a marathon. They want to lift heavy weights. They want longevity. But when it comes to fitness, what we are talking about is it's more than just absence of disease, right? When you look at the research, it doesn't take much to offset the declines of aging, like when we talk about osteoporosis, cardiorespiratory fitness, right? It's once a week, lifting something heavy, 1 to 2 times a week, getting a walk around the block, very minimal, just to avoid disease. So when we talk about fitness, we are talking about doing something a little bit above that, a little bit more than that. So Wendy, when you and I last spoke about this episode, okay, how do you define fitness? So when we look at what we teach as instructors for the National Academy of Sports Medicine, we teach the OPT model, right? The Optimum Performance Training Model. And the crux of that model is building the foundation of stability in order to produce more force or do what we call strength. And then after strength, now the idea is that we are trying to produce strength under speed, and that's what we call power. So when we look at what we teach, I mean, between you and I, Wendy, tens of thousands of personal trainers now, we're talking about teaching them how to get their clients to, 1, learn how to be strong and stable, control their body, their posture, in order so that they can produce or reduce force, lift weights, and get strong in multiple different facets, either produce a lot of weight or produce a lot of force to lift a lot of weight, or physically get bigger. So strength from that standpoint, or do something like lifting for what some people might consider to be like lifting a car, right? Something very heavy one time. And then power, lifting things very heavy, very fast, like say an Olympic lift, such as power clean or a power snatch, or being able to throw. Okay. So we're not saying you have to do all those things to be fit, but we want you to commit to movements and exercises so that we are doing more than just avoiding disease. So just some of the notes I've taken from our conversation, Wendy, what we want to do is adapt to all these stressors, right? We want to be able to climb upstairs. We want to be able to run if we had to, but also do things like balance and be able to produce force for a long time. So This is what we call muscular endurance. So when we talk about fitness, it is one of those big statements, but the thing is, it means something different to everybody. So I know, Wendy, when you do your client intake, when you're taking on a new client, if you're doing like what I do, I like to ask clients, okay, let's just say we commit to a program to get you to where you want to go and where you want to be. 3 months down the line, what do you want to be able to say you can do now versus 3 months ago, right? And everybody's going to have a different answer. But overall, we want people to be fit first, and then you can kind of complement those individual goals and desires, whether it's sports related or let's say just a capacity related goal. Like I just wanted to pick up my grandchildren, right? I just want to be able to go upstairs without knee pain. So we're just talking about going beyond, above and beyond the minimum to avoid disease and just on the brink of being exhausted at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I think, when you keep saying it's all of these things, I mean, just think if we had to think of one word, it's really all encompassing. That's the word. When I think of fitness, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, Rick Ritchie said it best, and he says this all the time. So if you guys haven't heard him present or you haven't listened to his podcast, he'll say like a whole lot of a whole lot of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And so, I mean, like you said, it's changing your lifestyle for the better. So there are so many different people that try to do everything at once. And I think when they set goals, that ends up being the problem, is they put too much on their plate and it's not realistic. So like you said, when I do my intake sheets with my clients, the first question I ask, like you said, I try to be specific, and I really want to do the SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So those 5 things are going to be extremely important if you're going to set specific goals. And as you mentioned, when we're talking about the model, I think the number one thing, Ken, and I mean, I would be interested to see your thoughts, but the number one thing I see when individuals decide to, it's January, right? I mean, it's not right now, but let's say it's January. Everyone's coming into the gym. They've set these new realistic goals for the new year. They're going to be healthy. They're going to get fit. They're going to do something different. And then they go and they get hurt because they did something too fast. I think it's important to, do an assessment, have someone do an assessment, find out where some imbalances are, because you want to be able to move better in order to feel better and perform better. So if you just go into the gym and you start lifting weights just for the sake of lifting weights, then you're going to get hurt. You're going to feel miserable. You're going to be so sore. And then it's not fun. Like fitness needs to be fun. F should be, stand for fun.
Yeah, and fun and enjoyment, because here's the thing. If you're going to do it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, it might as well be the best 3, 6 hours out of your week, right? So if you're talking about exercise, getting out, again, that means something different to everybody, and finding some enjoyment out of it. I mean, it should be something that you look forward to doing, right? Not I got to go see Wendy again. I mean, I never calling Wendy.
Wow, thanks.
But it's one of those things. Oh, okay, I get to do this. Or if you're not a morning person, but when it comes to getting a workout in, as the day goes on, the chances of me getting into the gym are less likely. So if I want to work out, if I get to work, if I got to do something, again, workouts in air quotes, but if I get to exercise, whatever that exercise is, if I like it, that's something I'm willing to, set the alarm for, get up half an hour earlier for, and get done, right? So it's not just you're just trudging, dragging your feet to the door, but you're actually up and you're looking forward to it. So if you're one of those that you have to get it in the morning, it might as well be something that you like doing, and if you're going to get it that early.
And we've done a lot of, different podcasts, whether it's through the Master Instructor Roundtable with myself and Marty. Of course, hopefully you guys have listened to Rick Ritchie, because he does multiple a week. And then us on Random Fit, of course. We've talked a lot about just, it has to be, like you said, you have to enjoy it. And so when people think of fitness, they think about having to go into the gym and lift weights. Now, we have talked about the benefits of lifting weights, what it does to our bones and our muscles over time, because unfortunately, as we age, our chances of being able to, grow our muscles and make sure that our bones stay dense, if you will, that starts to go on the decline. So that is going to be extremely important by lifting things. But Ken, you heard me. I mean, on Sunday, you and I had a quick conversation, and I was getting ready to go play tennis. And there was a little bit of guilt because I wasn't with my family doing some family things, but I needed to do that for myself. That's what I enjoy. That's something that I love to do. And it's one of those things where I'm going to go out and play for however many hours. Hopefully it's not as long as I played on Sunday, mind you. But it's one of those things where I'm getting out, I'm playing, I'm doing something that I enjoy. It's outside, it's out of the gym. And it's something where I am challenging myself against a different opponent. And so I think a lot of times, especially on this episode, the biggest thing is if you want to think about what to start, right? Number one, start by setting realistic goals and then write down the things that you enjoy. Start there. And if gym isn't one of those things, then you've got to think about, okay, what can you do besides going to the gym where you're still going to be active and do, your activities throughout the week that that you're not going to put on the back burner, because your physical health, you are the only one in charge of you. And that was really hard for me to understand for a long time, because I took care of everyone else before I took care of myself. And then I started to see that was not the smart thing to do. So that was one thing I had to stop doing. But then I did this start, stop, and continue. And once I did truly think about what I needed to start doing better, then I can now say I'm trying to continue doing that. But until I wrote it down, Ken, it was amazing how I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I do this for a living. This is what I do.
Yeah. So we're human too, right, Wendy? You and I, we we have our own journeys, but it's not that much different than what other people go through. And a little bit about my journey, when I was looking, okay, I need something that I look forward to, because as you know, I have my own facility. I have my dumbbells, my barbell, I have my TRX, I have my Viper Pros, I have all the stuff, all the toys when it comes to the traditional exercise routine, but I'm not enjoying it. I mean, I do it. I get something out of it, and I know that, and I put myself through it. But when it came to find, okay, well, what do I enjoy? What do I like doing? And I had to take inventory, and I did what we'll call fitness dating. I'm not dating fitness people, but it's fitness dating. You want to, just for the record, I'm only
You're
dating.
happily married.
Yeah, I'm happily married. I have 2 kids, but you're dating you're getting a touch and a feel for other things that you might find enjoyment in. Like, I tried swimming. Now, that was great. I felt better. I mean, I got out of the pool, I was invigorated, but I didn't look forward to getting into the pool. Now, I had to take a little inventory about myself now in high school and a little bit of college, a little rec league participation in wrestling. I wrestled in high school. I did some martial arts. So I don't mind the contact. Played a couple years of football. So I didn't mind the contact. And then my Coach Chelsea, I just happened to cross her on the street, and we were talking. It's like, well, think of, she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And one of the things she said to me was, hey, listen, the cool thing about jiu-jitsu, as opposed to doing other martial arts, because I was considering other forms, it's like there's no striking. So it's not like you're going to get a black eye and then you have to explain it to everybody on Monday when you go into work. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. And it was awesome, right? It was awesome. And I'm still with it this day. So that was a few years ago that I started it. So I had to try different things. I tried swimming. I tried league basketball, and it just wasn't for me. So from that standpoint, I had to try other things before I found the thing that I actually enjoy and look forward to doing. And like you, Wendy, I have to leave my family. It's like, all right, you guys have been fed, you're bathed, you're ready for bed. I'm gonna go roll around on the mats and do jujitsu right now. So you might have to do that when it comes to finding out what you enjoy and what's gonna click for you.
Well, today we are on episode 3 of Start, Stop, and Continue here on Random Fit with myself, Wendy Batts, and Ken Miller. And we've talked about a lot of the starts. So before we talk about the stops, I just wanted to say that this episode of Random Fit is brought to you by NASM 1. the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. Get the Edge app to schedule and program clients. Enjoy half off all certifications and specializations. Access free CEUs and more. All of this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM 1. So Ken, we talked about obviously the things that we needed to start doing. We definitely need to talk about what we should stop doing. I'm going to give you the first one. And I think the first thing I hear from my clients all the time, and I tell them just to stop doing it, is comparing themselves to people that they see on social media, the beautiful bodies on Instagram that are doing these exercises that are advanced techniques. When I have a client that's coming in that is just starting and we're working on proper movement patterns, I tell them, you know what, that's something to strive for. But right now, stop comparing yourself to them. I mean, right now we've got to look at you, right? That's why you're in the gym. That's why you walked in. I'm here to help you be a better you. And I think until people understand that, you know what, there are multiple people when I watch and see different things, I'm like, man, you know, that person, she can do something that I wish I could do. So that maybe is a goal. Like, what can I do to be able to do that particular exercise or do that particular event at that time? I think it's very important to stop comparing yourself to others and think about what you can do to be a better you first.
And yeah, that's I think a lot of it. And even if your goal is to, like, if you watch somebody, and I guess to kind of piggyback on that idea, Wendy, is that even if you're watching somebody else, even if they're doing something amazing, right? You can't set, I mean, your standards today as like, well, I'm not as good as that person, and or I can't do that thing as good as they can. But even to as far as the SMART goals that you mentioned, Wendy, I actually hesitate to say, yeah, someday you can actually get to that point, because I mean, how someone's built or someone's training, the year that they've spent to actually think that, okay, that is the best you can be. You know, I have problems with that from the standpoint, one, they may be just genetic freaks. They can do stuff that nobody else can do. And you're coming in with what you can do. And you may not be able to do the things that they can or look the way that they look. So, but I also want to say on the other side of that coin is, why set that as your limit? What if you can be, not say quote unquote better, right? You can have a little bit more of what they're doing. You can lift more, you can run farther. Why set limits from that standpoint? It's good to have goals relative to yourself, but yeah, just watching out for what you see on social media, because I don't want to look at what I see in somebody else's post as my floor or my ceiling, because we don't know what I can do. And so there's a lot of untapped potential if you're starting something new, and that's great. Part of the journey is actually figuring out where you can be when it comes to that particular activity or, you know, endeavor.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also important to say, well, I don't have time. I don't have time. I mean, Ken, you and I have talked about, I did this challenge for myself. My husband and I did it together. We challenged ourselves personally, not each other, even though we held each other accountable. And I think that's also really good. But I always said, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to make time to do this. And for 75 days, I did it. And I made the time. And it was interesting because once those 75 days were over, I realized that I do have the time. I'm just not making the time. I was finding every excuse in the book, like, well, I really need to get dinner ready. Oh, I really need to be home when my son gets off the bus.
Yeah.
I really need to do this, that, or the other. And I hear my clients say that too. Well, I've got this work meeting that is coming up. It's really important. I need to go home and sit down and put a PowerPoint together or put whatever documents together. And I'm not saying that that's not important. However, taking 30 minutes of your day, it doesn't have even 10 minutes of your day. Start with something small that's realistic. And on days you have more time, increase that time. But even on the days that you don't, do something small, because then it'll start to show that you did have that time, whether you're taking a call and you're doing something in your office, you're stretching, you're doing different things. No one can see you. Now, granted, if you're on like a Zoom or something like that, I get it. But, you know, how many times was I on the phone with you taking a walk around my neighborhood while we were taking notes about our podcast? You know, I might have been breathing heavy in your ear at times, but I found the time to do it. And I think excuse. Just there's no need for that. Pack your gym bag. If you're going to the gym early in the morning, pack it the night before. Have everything set by the door. Have your snack already ready so you can grab it and go. Have your protein shake or whatever it is that you drink before you work out ready. So when you wake up, you can hit the ground running.
Yep. Now you just made me remember one of our calls. You had, I don't know, it sounded like Animal Kingdom. It was like three different kinds of birds making noise, chirping and barking, and it sounded like you were just like in the woods or something.
I was walking my hood, by the way.
It's like, all right, don't get lost out there. But you remember when we've done an episode on exercise snacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's as easy as just doing a sprint. I mean, you go outside, you do a sprint down the one block and back, or you do 10 fast squats, right? Or you do 10 squat jumps, right? Just get the heart rate up and then get right back to where you were. But you did mention like get a couple stretches in there, and that kind of feeds into the next point I want to make when it comes to what we have to stop doing. It's just stop neglecting recovery and rest. So if you ran, so one of the things that I did this weekend, we did the recovery tent at a local run here in Alameda, and from that vantage point, we offered the Normatec boots, the Volt, and the Viper to help people recover after their runs. So I guarantee you, most of those runners, they finished their race, got their snacks at the end of the run, got their little medal, their finish medal, and they went home, right? So how do you think they're going to feel the next day if they weren't like some of those people that took the time, got into Normatec boots, did a couple foam rolling spots, and then the rest of their day they're going to be more pliable, more flexible, and they're starting the recovery process immediately. And that's one of the things that goes under the radar when it comes to creating a fitness plan. I want to get more fit, I want to be more capable, but one of the things that does not get put on paper, like you said, Wendy, write it down. One of the things that does not get written down is recovery. When are you going to recover? When are you going to rest and give your body a chance to rebuild and be stronger for the next bout of activity that you do relative to your goals? So that's the next thing that we probably want to stop doing, is stop neglecting rest and recovery.
Yes. Exclamation point. Our producer is not a big fan of those, but that is the one that would be mic drop. Please do it. Foam rolls, stretch, recovery boots, whatever you have, use it, because it is super important. However you leave the gym, however you leave your race, if you don't do some sort of trying to get your body back into proper alignment, try to get it to recover, get your muscles to relax a little bit, then you're going to be that much more like feeling terrible, or like you said, worse the next morning when you get out of bed. You're going to be super sore. You're going to feel like maybe you've been even, just that workout was just too much. And maybe it was, maybe you went a little too hard, but if you go through and you do the right recovery after, it's amazing how much better you feel. All right, Ken. So we talked about what we should start. We talked about what we should stop. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things when we talk about continuing is to make sure that if you are committing to your fitness journey, it is a journey. It is not a race with a finish line. It is it's a race for life, basically, is to make your movement, whatever that is, non-negotiable. And that was one of the things when I sat down and said, I'm going to join this team, I wanted to commit to something, and I need to make the time to do that. I need to make the time for my lessons. I need to make the time to work with my partner if I'm doing doubles. I need to take the time to work on my serves. I need to take some time for myself. And it's non-negotiable because I have a team that's relying on me to win. So therefore we move up in ranks, right? I rely on my team to win just like they do when we have specific lines. So I think what somebody thinks about is that it has to be this like long, I have to give an hour of each and every day. That's not the case. Just set some time for yourself, whether it's meditation, whether it's recovery, whether it's going to the gym or working on your craft. Like you said, you rolling around on the mats. I mean, that's for you. And I think, people feel, again, like if they take time for themselves, they feel guilty. again, I'm that person, but it's okay to do that. And if you are doing that and going to the gym or doing whatever it is that you like to do, you need to continue doing that and make sure that that's part of your daily routine.
And it is just about perspective, right? So when I mean, just again, relative to what I do with what I enjoy with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's about an hour and a half that I'm doing that, and part of it's, you learn a skill, practice the drills, do um, a little, I guess, testing yourself a little bit with your partner. But on the off days, I'm doing, let's say, 60 minutes of some zone two. So submax aerobic intensity. I'm between 130 and 150 beats per minute on my assault bike. So I'll do that on the longer days. But then there's been many a time, Wendy, where it's like, well, I don't have a half hour, so I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
Right. So but those are the days where if I can just take the dog on a little bit longer, I mean, I got to walk the dog anyway. Right. But if I throw in a little bit of a jog in there and she doesn't mind it, I'll make that walking session a little bit more intense cardio session. So I find ways to kind of bleed in exercise or move, quote unquote exercise or movement, some kind of intentional session to where I know that I'm improving my capacity, my cardiorespiratory fitness or my strength. So something that just kind of bumps it up a little bit. So it's as easy as that. Take something that you might already do and kind of transform or migrate it into intensity wise into something that's going to be, your body's going to have to do something about it by changing to be stronger, more pliable, or whatever the adaptation is that you're looking to do,
Yep. And
whatever
I
that
think,
is.
yeah, and I think a big one too is your nutrition, is
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about, hopefully if you listen to episode 2, when we talked a lot about nutrition, you're going to find the things that you enjoy eating and the things that make you feel full, the things that, are higher possibly in protein, if that's the type of food that you want. I mean, I know that I'm trying to eat more protein because my protein for every meal was on the lower side and I needed to increase that. That was something that I chose to do. And so I need to continue doing that. So when I'm planning out my meals for the week or I'm going to the grocery store, I think, okay, what am I going to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I try to plan it out. So therefore, I'm not just eating for the sake of eating. I have a planned thought of, okay, you know what, these are the right choices for me. And if I have the little snacks put away that are actually more healthier snacks, then it'll keep me from going in and grabbing an Oreo or grabbing something that my kid loves to have that are always in my house, because I have a 9-year-old boy who loves to have little things like that, who is extremely underweight. And the doctor's like, feed him as much as he'll eat, no matter what it is at this point, which, okay. So it's not like I can throw that stuff out. I mean, he eats super healthy. That's the problem. He eats so healthy that he's not gaining weight. The things that actually cause you to get bigger and put weight on, he is not a fan of. So he loves like chicken and steak and no bread and I mean, who doesn't like bread? Come on.
I know, right?
Yep.
And I think on that note, let's just say, yeah, you happen to have fallen on the floor, Wendy, and right there next to your mouth is a bag of Oreo cookies, and a couple of them just tend to kind of roll in there. And what I tell my clients is, all right, so you have those moments, and you succumb to temptation, and you ate a cookie or two or 10. Just show yourself a little grace and just say, okay, well, I've had my fill, I'm good, and then my next meal, I'm going to be more conscious, more aware. I'm going to kind of not have it as in my face as it is, sitting on the kitchen counter. But I'm also going to, like you said, just make other things more available. So when it comes to nutrition, yeah, there's no perfect plan, but you got to make the better decision when it is time to make a good decision, and just prepare the environment for those, to make the better decisions more times than not. So yeah, yeah, give yourself some grace on that one.
And one of the last things that I'm hoping you're going to continue, if you're not continuing it, you're going to start doing it. I read this somewhere and I actually laughed out loud that you should hydrate yourself like you're watering a prized plant. I'm like, okay, never really heard it termed that way. However, it does serve a point because you are the prize, right? Your body's made up of a lot of water. And unfortunately, more people than not are becoming more and more dehydrated, especially as we age. And so one of the things that I think we need to really think about is that water plays a crucial role in everything that you do, from your energy levels all the way to your muscle function. So it's very important that you're drinking water throughout the day. And I mean, I grew up, my dad never really drank water. And I was such a daddy's girl that I was like, if he's not drinking it, I'm not drinking it. And he would like joke around, like, water makes me rust, all these crazy things that he would say as he was opening a beer and getting ready to go outside to mow the lawn or whatever. And so, it's one of those things where I'm like, wait a minute, I never did this as a kid, and I was fine. But now I realize how important that is. And, I've gotten blood work done and they're like, you know what, you are more on the dehydrated side. I'm like, really? I drink water all the time. And they're like, you know what, you're pretty active, so you need to drink more than you are. And so it's one of those things that sometimes you don't realize that you're more on the dehydrated side because you're drinking some, but you've got to really focus on looking at how many ounces of water are you drinking a day, and does it fit within the guidelines, and how active are you, how much are you sweating, and how much are you losing. And then maybe you need to increase it just a little bit more. So it's one of those things that it's very important to drink water. And unfortunately, as we age, people don't like to drink water because they, don't want to get up and go to the bathroom because they're older. They go to bed and they don't want to get up in the middle of the night. I get all of that, but hydration is super, super important.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you are starting a whole new routine, you're starting a whole exercise routine, not just maybe you're doing more than just resistance training. You're outside and you're going to be out in the element, and on those hotter days, just watch what you're doing there. But also, it's more activity. So you're going to have to drink more than what you were doing before, especially if you were, let's just say you, for the sake of argument, you were hydrated before, but now that you're doing more exercise, you're actually needing more water. So when it comes to start, stop, and continue, and for the goal of overall fitness, you're starting something new. This is something you definitely want to continue, if not actually increase. So one of the phrases I like to tell my clients when it comes to kind of gauging how much water you need to take in is, when you go to the bathroom, since you brought it up, Wendy, when you go to the bathroom, you want to pee chablis. And so
Wow.
it's not clear, you don't want it to be clear, but you want to have some tint or some hue to it, but you also don't want it to be like red or orange, right? You don't want it to be any significant sign of dehydration. So Chablis apparently is the goal.
There you have it.
There
Never
you
really
have
heard
it.
that termed either, but okay.
Yeah, it rhymes. So when it comes to start, stop, and continue, this being the third episode of Start, Stop, and Continue for performance, for body composition change, and here we have your fitness game plan for episode 3. So hope you enjoyed these 3 episodes when it came to what do you need to start, what do you need to stop, and what is it that you need to continue. And again, we all come from different spots on what we need to start, stop, and continue, but hopefully we've kind of given you some food for thought on what it takes to achieve that goal for performance, changing your body composition, or becoming more fit. So Wendy, thanks for your insight on these 3 episodes. Hopefully we'll come up with another segment where we can kind of think about what we can do to get you going on multiple perspectives with multiple goals. So if you like what you listened to today on this episode of Random Fit with both Wendy Batts and I, Ken Miller, like, follow, subscribe, download, share. More importantly, let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll have it on a future episode, just like this episode, these last 3 episodes were. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.